What up, what up, what up? Hey, everybody, hope you're doing well. Hey, I just want to let you know, I know everybody can't always support and donate to the podcast, but hey, if you can do a one-time donation, I put up a Buy Me a Coffee link in this description of the podcast. So if you go to the description of the podcast, it'll be at the bottom, and you can just go to that link, and you can buy me a cup of coffee, or two if you want. And that would just help support the show, and I can wake up a little bit more and bring you more info. So thanks for listening to the podcast. If you can donate, that would be much appreciated. And let's get on to the show. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing excellent and taking care of yourselves. So today I want to talk to you about an interesting concept that's kind of been plaguing me for a little while, and I want to see what you guys think about it. So I've been reading through a lot of things and watching a lot of interviews, specifically with remote viewers, different remote viewers who were part of the government psychic spy program, who have talked about being able to access knowledge from all over the universe from the comfort of their own chair, by accessing the hemisphere, the multi-hemispheric brain hemisync, using the binaural beats created by Robert Monroe, and then refining those into what they called controlled remote viewing, which is a protocol with which they do their targeting and they find information about certain targets. So as I was going through this, I was watching one of the interviews with Lynn Buchanan, who was in the remote viewing program, along with Joseph McMoneagle, along with Pat Price, who was featured in Time magazine. If you're not too keen on remote viewing, you can take a look at Pat Price in Time magazine. I think it was like in 1980, maybe in the early 80s. But Pat Price is known as like one of the best, if not the best, remote viewer, even though in my mind it's probably Joe McMoneagle. But Pat Price is excellent, and like his statistics are like off the roof. Anyway, let me get to the point. What's the point? I'm going to keep this kind of short and sweet, probably. What's plaguing me is the grandfather of remote viewing, Robert Monroe, was so focused on perfecting remote viewing and then achieving different focus states. So one of the first states that you would achieve is focus 10, which would be relaxing your body to the point where your body's asleep and your mind's awake, and then moving forward to focus 21 and moving forward and forward on. Once you got to focus 21, you were basically coming out of body. And I was going through some other podcasts. Art Bell back in the 90s had interviewed Joseph McMoneagle and talked about Art Bell, coast to coast, before George Norrie, had his own out-of-body experiences, which is really fascinating, where he had tried to have an out-of-body experience, got to the point of vibrations and humming and almost coming out of his body, but he stated he was so much of a control freak that he wouldn't allow himself to pop out. And that was during the time when he lived in the U.S. Then he went to France on vacation with his wife, and spontaneously, while laying down, had an out-of-body experience hovering above France. And then, while he was hovering over France, freaked out, popped right back into his body, woke his wife up, and said, "Oh my God, why, honey, this is what happened. This was a real experience, not something made up, not something I dreamt. This was real." And he could never figure out why. And Joe McMoneagle was on an interview with Art Bell, and he stated that's because you were so relaxed because you were on vacation, because you weren't focused on a very rigid time schedule, with your radio show, and you were out of, like your general stressful area of work, and you were on vacation. You were in a different place. You were in a different mindscape, mind place, if you will, and it allowed you to come out of body. And isn't it interesting that he had to leave his stressful location of, his very rigid wake up, do work, go back to bed, go on vacation, and have this strange out of body experience. Similar experience happened to me, not out of body, but sleepwalking, which is very fascinating too. But nonetheless, let's get to the point. The point is that Robert Monroe talked about these entities that he had met that told him about, this afterlife, kind of recapturing of souls and reincarnating them. And, what got me thinking is there's kind of some contradictions here. One, we have this rebirth, we have this reincarnation where if you put it in a positive light, and if you believe in reincarnation, you keep listening. If not, that's okay too. But if you believe in the reincarnation, you believe in the kind of the cycle of souls, and we come back to Earth to learn these life lessons. And each time we come back, we allow ourselves to have this veil put over us so that we have a fresh start. And we kind of go through the birthing process. We learn again. The question is, why do we have this veil? The question is, why do we have to forget in order to learn? The question is, wouldn't it make more sense just to keep all of those memories from the past so that we can continue to learn into the future? Sure, we can be a baby. Sure, we can kind of have a little bit of a fresh start at the beginning. But why not come back and at the age of 5 start to recall all of these memories, start to recall these past lives? Have these hypnotic regressions where we can recall these past lives and openly as a society know about this, and then use those past lives to gain more insight into what we're trying to achieve here on the planet. And it really makes you question, why do we have this veil put on us in the first place? Is it for our benefit, or is it for the benefit of someone else? Now, in Robert Monroe's case, he stated that there is an entity that has created us that does use us for their own energy purposes, and it is more of a reptilian race that kind of uses us as the Matrix, as you saw in the Matrix movies, where we are the batteries for their survival, where our what's the right word? Confrontations that we have on a daily basis. The negative thoughts that scientists say we have 85% negative thoughts throughout the day, and 95% of those are repetitive. That's a lot of negative thoughts throughout the day. Now, you might not say, hey, I'm negative all the time, but you might be worried about things quite frequently. You might be thinking about things that might concern you quite frequently, and you might have very little time to fully enjoy the moment, like on a weekend, or maybe even only on a Sunday, maybe even only on a Sunday afternoon, like maybe for an hour out of, hundreds of hour a week, So these thoughts are pervasive, and they provide a lot of energy out into the universe, right? Your negative energy, your worry, your concern creates energy within you. It creates cortisol. It creates energy wherever you go, into any environment that you walk into, any room that you walk into, home, office. It creates an energy. So kind of my concern is that Robert Monroe may actually be right. I'm not saying he is. Maybe he got manipulated by some entity on some upper echelon realm or something like that. I hope so. But what if that entity was right? What if what Robert Monroe found out, towards the end of his life was correct, and that while we do have free thought and free will, we also encounter a lot of confrontation on this planet. In order to survive, we need money, food, water, shelter. We have to engage in relationships, keep those active, keep those going, keep our own health going. We have health battles, health concerns, mental health concerns, work concerns, all kinds of things, that are going on in your life. And these energy fields could be providing a lot of energy to some species. So if we're on this journey together and you're on this journey with me and I'm on it with you, you know, why do we have this veil as we are born again? You may have a great answer for it, and I thought I had a great answer for it too. But the question remains, is it right? Is it the right answer? Because it seems like most of our lives we're trying to figure out our purpose for being here, and it seems like we're trudging around in the dark, and all this time, all these thousands of years, 200,000 years, humankind, or at least Homo erectus, has been on the planet. You know, that's a lot of history. How come in all this history, we have very little history written down, and we have very little history to work off of, and it's just so frustrating. It's so frustrating because it seems like we should be in a better place. And, as technology grows, we'll be able to record our history a little bit better, and hopefully learn from it. But it seems like the slow growth here is too slow. And it seems like the veil of secrecy that we're born with of our previous lives only hinders us from progress. That is my concern. Is that the veil that we're born with, the veil between this world and the next, only hinders us from progress. And when we leave this world, there's so many people that say that you see your family and they say they're so happy that you're there, and you get a 360 review of this life. Well, doesn't it seem a little odd and frustrating that we're going to judge ourselves based off of how we responded in this life without all of that information from previous lives? It's almost like saying, hey, as a student, we're going to put you into high school, but all of the education that you received up until this point will be erased from your mind. And we're going to see how well you do. And then we're going to give you the opportunity to review how you've done on all your tests. And you're going to keep coming back without all that information. And you're going to keep getting tested. And we're going to see how you do. Doesn't it seem a little silly? Doesn't it seem like a silly concept? I all my research for decades has led me to believe that was the case, and now it's like I'm really questioning why we have that veil. And I understand that when we pass on and go to the next realm, we will understand it a little bit more in depth. But a lot of these remote viewers talk about how they can't see into certain aspects. They can't see past the year 3000, for example. A lot of remote viewers say this, including Joseph McMoneagle, written and authored and published in his books. Okay. Now he does have predictions for the future, but he can't see past certain times. So if we have this unlimited time, ability, kind of like what he writes about in his third book, which is titled The Ultimate Time Machine, which is our body, the human body, being able to see forward and backwards in time, pretty much unlimited. Backwards, you can go back to Christ's birth, death. You can go back to, the birth and death of many celebrities and religious figures and time periods of great historical value. But to be blocked at the year 3000, doesn't that seem strange? I mean, if we were going to die, then wouldn't we be able to see that? Like, as a species, if we're going to just erupt, and be gone, wouldn't you think we'd be able to remote view that? Why is that the case? This is kind of like a secondary veil blocked from our remote viewers. This is what Joe has said. Now, what's interesting too, is that most other things aren't blocked for them. You know, they can see, so many things. They can see other species. They can see their planets. They can go back and forth. They went back 1 million years BC to see, the species that was on Mars. The CIA report is open for anyone to read. Just type in Mars exploration 1984. Joe did that. Joseph McMoneagle was the remote viewer that wrote that report, or that was the remote viewer for that report. So it doesn't say his name on there. It says, he's the sub, and there's a manager, asking questions. So he's actually the remote viewer. It doesn't say Joseph on there because it's a CIA report, but he's the one that did that, and he was allowed to go back to 1 million years BC and see this species that, was being annihilated on the planet because of an environmental or nuclear disaster, and they were trying to ride this out. And because of that, they did die. They did they did pass away. They were gone, and he was able to see that. So what's going on with this blockage of the year 3000? Is it a block from these overlords that we have, or is there some other reason? That's kind of my question. It's kind of twofold here. Why do we have a veil coming into this world? One. Two, why do we have a block on the year 3000? Seems really bizarre to me, and I need a little bit more detail and depth information. So that's kind of where I sit. I don't have all the answers. Obviously, this is CIA, run, um, experiments. Um, they're still going on today, even though they're not going to admit it. Everybody that was in the program all thinks that they're continuing it. The Russians have continued it, so it's just an ongoing, uh, experiment, project that they've been running. What's interesting is Joe and a lot of these other, remote viewers moved into doing it for their own private companies, and they're hired by, police departments to solve, murder cases and things like that, which is really interesting. Find an item that they really need, for an investigation. So it's really fascinating. Um, anyway, what do you think about this veil? I don't want to get too far into off topic here. What do you think about this veil, and what do you think about the veil on the 3000, year 3000? Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say. It seems to me as though there's a reason for it. What is that reason? We don't know. What are my thoughts and theories? I'll leave you with this. There may be an event around 3000 that could cause, a recycle or a rebirth here, or it could be that there is, something coming, that they don't want us to see. Our overlords, whoever they are. And I'm not talking God here. I'm talking like, some superior alien civilization. Um, and I think that Robert Monroe encountered an entity that, told us what's going on here. We are kind of like an alien ant farm situation. We are an experiment, and that's his scenario, and that's his expert encounter. So I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to be negative. I hope he's wrong. I hope that he was lied to. And could he have been lied to? Sure. Because there's entities out there that are good and bad. And this was the only entity that he encountered. Um, Robert Monroe hasn't talked about any entities like that. Lynn Buchanan hasn't talked about any entities like that. They haven't given us any information like that. Um, It could be that it's part of a top secret, confidential project that they can't talk about. It's classified, right? They can't talk about it. That might be true as well. We don't know. But thoughts and theories are out there. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. I got out to bowl. I got out to get for a nice walk in and do a few things. So, and it was sunny out, so I can't complain too much. So anyway, guys, I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Take care of yourselves physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. And as always, continue to question the universe around you. Till next time, take care. Lockdown Universe out.